Hey guys, happy day. Happy Thursday. Happy Wednesday. Whatever day it is. I am here in South Korea and it is Thursday morning at 10 a.m. I am also live on Instagram, so I'm trying to do this whole phone setup thing so I can do all the things at the same time. We are doing Two Truths and a Lie. So if you're on Instagram, I posted this in my stories. Obviously on Facebook, you guys get the chance to vote on Two Truths and a Lie every week. And this is a good one. We're going to talk about blood sugar today. So, hi, friends. I'm Jamie. Thank you for being here. I can't express how much I appreciate this community. It is massive and it is amazing. And it gives me life every single day. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for engaging with me. Thank you for always asking all of your questions and sparking these conversations because as you know, I'm constantly preaching not only sustainability in our lives with fitness and nutrition, that is a huge, massive part of this platform and what I attempt to kind of spread is this idea of sustainability, but also the conversation. I am not the only head in the room. I appreciate when there are lots of different opinions on things. I always tell you guys that on these Two Truths and a Lie, sometimes they're just factual. I can like the facts, I can dislike the facts, but they just are what they are. Science is science. Other times it's more my take on research and science that is out there. There are lots of right ways to go about this health and fitness thing. Some things are just plain true and false, and other things are more so the perspective that you have, the perspective that I have, the experience that I have, my professional experience working with clients and living my life and doing this whole fitness and nutrition thing. So always keep that in mind, that the goal is to spark a conversation. The goal is to maybe help you learn something new and have a new perspective and way to look at things. Okay, so let's get into it. Oh, I got to share the thing and I didn't pull it up. Give me a sec. Let me grab it. It should be right here in my downloads from the other day. Two Truths and a Lie. Two Truths and a Lie. There it is. Is this the one I want to share? Yes. So on Facebook Live, if you're watching on Instagram and you are not in our Facebook group, you need to get in there. Link in bio. I'm going to go ahead and share. I always feel so silly saying link in bio. Like it just feels so salesy. Like link in bio. You know what I mean? All right, so here is this week's Two Truths and a Lie. So we're talking blood sugar today. Let's go over them. I have to pull it up large so I can read them. All right, so there were three information bubbles given, and only one of them is a lie. The other two are true. So number one is, this is the wrong one. Damn it. Hold on. That's the wrong one. Two Truths and a Lie. That's not it. Genetics, nope, that is from last week. Where's Two Truths and a Lie from this week? I might have to pull it up on Facebook. Why is it not here? Hold on. Why do I not have it up? I'm gonna have to go look it up on Facebook. All right, hold please. Hold please. Easy pizza. Not prepared. I was reading one from last week. All right. Here we go. All right. Two Truths and a Lie. I can't share it with you. Sorry, because I don't actually have it. Oh, maybe I could do this. Let me do this. Save image as. Yep. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to open it up in my downloads. There it is. Rocking and rolling. Maybe that's why I didn't have it, because I couldn't recognize the cover because I changed the cover a little bit. All right. Sharing my screen. Window. Bam. There it is. Oh, sorry, guys. All right. Number one. It is generally wise to balance fast digesting carbs with fats and proteins at most main meals and snacks. Number two, blood glucose spikes are perfectly normal and are not something to be concerned with for Gen Pop individuals, general population. Those two are true. Number three, blood glucose spikes can be dangerous and lead to fat weight gain. Monitoring your blood sugar and adjusting your diet accordingly is a good strategy to control health, and weight. That is a lie. Hi, good to see you. If you're here live, can you please say hello? Can you please pop in the comments and say what's up? It's always good to see you guys live. And if you're watching the replay, please comment replay. So number 3 is a lie. Blood glucose spikes are not inherently dangerous, and they do not inhibit people from being able to lose weight or lose fat, etc. Blood sugar spikes are normal, a normal part of eating, a normal part of your body's response. And for general population people, there is no reason to monitor these or worry about these. So let's talk a little about why, okay? So like I said, blood sugar spikes are normal. They happen when your blood gets sugar in it, right, from eating. So when you eat and your body digests carbohydrates, it releases the glucose that is digesting into your bloodstream. What happens at that point? Insulin is released, and insulin comes and shuttles the blood sugar out of your bloodstream and shuttles it where it needs to go in your body, whether it's for immediate energy, whether it's for storage for later, storage for long term. That's insulin's job, right? And when insulin is done, it's pulled the blood sugar out, it goes back into its den, and it goes to sleep until it's needed again. This is a normal process that happens in your body, okay? Your blood sugar, there's a difference between spiking of blood sugar and general blood sugar kind of ebbs and flows, right? So what happens when your blood sugar spikes is typically when there's a large dump of sugar into your bloodstream at one time. So when does this happen? This happens when you eat usually things that break down very quickly, fast digesting carbohydrates that dump a lot of sugar into your blood very quickly, right? Typically, when you eat a meal that's more balanced on the macronutrients, if you eat, let's say, a carbohydrate that is not fast digesting, so if you eat something that has more fiber in it, let's say oatmeal or fruit, sometimes, not always, because everything digests differently, but oftentimes, the more fiber a carbohydrate has, the slower it breaks down, the slower that blood sugar dump into your bloodstream is, and the more balanced out it will be, and it won't really spike as much. Likewise, if you have a meal that includes carbohydrates but also has fat or also has protein in it, that also slows down the dump of sugar into your bloodstream, right? Because your entire digestion process is being slowed down. If you've been around here long enough, you know that carbohydrates digest first in your body, followed by protein, followed by fat. So fat is the macronutrient that's going to slow the digestion the most. This is why ice cream, even though it is a quote unquote unhealthy food full of sugar, right? It is one that actually doesn't usually, depending on the person, have a high blood sugar spike because it's got a lot of fat in it. Fat slows down that dump of sugar, okay? Likewise, or on the flip side of the spectrum, watermelon, which is a very healthy food and very highly recommended when you're on a fat loss journey because of how filling and low calorie it is for high volume, it spikes most people's blood sugar super, super high because it is a very quick digesting carbohydrate, but it is a quote unquote healthy, whole and natural food. So it would be incorrect to say that foods that spike your blood sugar are inherently unhealthy because that is simply not true, right? However, it is true that a lot of fast digesting carbs, which can be in the quote unquote unhealthy category, do tend to have a bigger effect on our blood sugar, okay? Now, blood sugar spikes and blood sugar ebbs and flows are normal parts of eating and enjoying food, okay? Here's where it becomes kind of a problem. Blood sugar spikes usually accompany a release of insulin, right? We talked about insulin gets released. The more blood sugar there is, the more insulin comes, pulls, shuttles out. So what happens at that point is because there's a rapid release of insulin to remove that blood sugar, a lot of times blood sugar will plummet after a spike. So when we're talking a spike, I'm literally talking above, I think it's 140 milligrams per deciliter. So there's an upper limit and a lower limit where we normally want to see blood sugar, but then it can spike above a limit and spike below, I believe it's 70 milligrams per deciliter is when it's too low. So a lot of times what happens when blood sugar spikes is it then drops dramatically low before then coming back up and leveling out. And during that plummet, oftentimes people feel the effect of feeling slow. So you might initially, when you feel a spike, You might feel like a surge of energy. You feel good. You feel clear. You feel excited. But when it drops, a lot of people feel slow. They feel sluggish. They feel brain fog. They feel dizzy. A lot of times we feel shaky because of like lack of blood sugar in the bloodstream. And a lot of times you can start to feel really hungry because typically a lack of blood sugar is like a signal to your body that you don't have food, right? So you might get hungry even though you clearly do have food. So a lot of negative effects could happen from having a blood sugar spike and a blood sugar drop, but not necessarily, okay? So common foods that cause blood sugar spikes: potatoes, white bread, watermelon, fruit juices, sodas, candies, all of those kinds of things that have high sugar, straight sugar, right? And we'll come back to that part in a sec. Can you lose fat? Weight? Can you lose fat? Weight? Can you lose fat or weight and weight with blood sugar spikes in your diet? Absolutely. Okay, absolutely. It doesn't actually affect it at all as long as you're in a calorie deficit. So the main thing is being in a calorie deficit. Are you in a calorie deficit in a fat burning zone with your nutrition? Yes, then you're going to lose fat even if you have blood sugar spikes. Okay, and ebbs and flows normal. Spikes are also normal. They don't have an impact on your fat or weight gain. Now, here's an example, actually. I wanted to show you this image because I thought it was it's not super clear because for some reason my screen was not loading properly when I went to take this screenshot. But I wanted to take this screenshot of this blood sugar chart. And this is actually from, if any of you guys follow Jordan Syatt on Instagram or anything else, YouTube, he just released a video about this actually. He did a test on himself. I will drop the link in the comments if you haven't seen this video. He deliberately spiked his blood sugar every day for 30 days while eating in an extreme calorie deficit in order to show that you can spike your blood sugar and lose body fat. And to make this study more real, I guess, and more authentic, he also got a full blood panel done at the beginning of the challenge and a full blood panel done at the end. And I mean, spoiler alert, the end results were that his markers were excellent. Like his blood markers, his health markers, biomarkers were still excellent. So yes, he lost body fat and he still maintained very good health by having blood sugar spikes every single day intentionally. And I wanted to show you an example of, so this is an example, and I believe this spike right here was when he literally ate a quarter cup of sugar by itself. He just sat there like with a spoon and ate a quarter cup of sugar. And this was the spike from it, and this was the steep downfall. And right around here where it goes below 70, I believe it is, milligrams per deciliter is when he was feeling very shaky, very brain fog. He felt like he needed to just lay down. He couldn't like keep going with the content that he was planning to create that day. So that was like an example of that feeling. So this is an example of what a chart can look like and where those spikes and those drops can happen. So you might feel like crap during these drops, but you also might not. So there was a couple examples in this video as well where he was looking at he was wearing a continuous blood glucose monitor that I'm going to talk about at the end of this, so stay tuned. He was wearing a continuous blood glucose monitor to monitor these things. And there were certain things that, for example, would spike his blood sugar, but he actually didn't feel bad on the come down from it. So watermelon is something that really spiked his blood sugar. It spikes a lot of people's blood sugar, but he didn't feel bad. He didn't feel hungry. He didn't feel sluggish. He didn't feel gross, right? There's other things. So it really matters. I think the point of that is it really matters how foods impact you. Okay, how foods impact you, not anybody else, right? You got to think about how you're feeling. Another example is oatmeal. So oatmeal is one of those things that people have wildly different reactions to, which I find so interesting. And because I see it in my clients and in my life and my family, people have such different reactions to oatmeal. So for some people, oatmeal digests super quickly and they get a blood sugar spike and they feel very hungry and sluggish and like low blood sugar afterwards. And other people don't feel that way. It digests differently. It digests slower. It doesn't give as much of a spike, or it does give a spike, but they don't feel bad from it. Jordan actually in this video even compared, he ate just oatmeal at one point in the day and watched the blood sugar, and then later added protein powder to it to see if adding protein affected the blood sugar spike, and I think it was very minimal. I think there might not have even been a spike from it. I think it might have just risen pretty high. I don't think it was necessarily a spike, but you should definitely watch that video because it was very interesting. Now, what is generally true is that, this is where we get to, chronically elevated blood sugar levels or blood sugar levels that spike too often for too long, that's when we can drift into insulin desensitivity or resistance, right? So this is where we start to drift into danger of type 2 diabetes or being pre-diabetic, is when those blood sugar levels are spiked too high, too often for too long, and they're not coming down. If they're not coming down, this is an insulin resistance issue. If we're spiking them too often and for too long, we might train our body to release less insulin, which is obviously a bad thing. Now, type 2 diabetes is a lot of time, it can have a lot of factors, including genetics, can really affect like whether you have type 2 diabetes or not, or whether you're prone to it. But also lifestyle you can reverse type 2 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is different. Type 1 diabetes is when your pancreas literally doesn't release insulin. And that's something that you can't fix or turn around. You have to take medicine. But type 2 diabetes can often be turned around with lifestyle, because it's something that's either like genetic or something that we've almost trained it with the diet, right? Also, so if we think of it this way, blood sugar levels that are spiked too high, too often, too long can be dangerous, but having a diet that leads to consistent blood sugar spikes is typically also a diet that is linked with overall low protein, right? Low fat, high sugar, high carbohydrate, a low nutrient density, and is often linked to obesity as well. So it's kind of one of those, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it that these blood sugar spikes are causing? No, it's that we have a diet that consistently causes blood sugar spikes, and that overall diet is leading to the condition that we're in, right? So do blood sugar spikes, are they inherently dangerous? No, they're perfectly normal. Being worried about blood sugar spikes is like being worried about your blood pressure rising when you're exercising. When you exercise, your blood pressure rises. It's normal. That's what your body does when you exercise, okay? But it always comes back down. It's chronically elevated levels of blood pressure. It's blood pressure that is high when you're just sitting there at rest. That's a problem. It's very similar with blood sugar. Blood sugar that is just elevated, even when you're sitting there and not eating anything, that's a problem. But a blood sugar spike in response to eating is completely normal. I'd be worried if your blood sugar didn't rise and fall. Do we want to try to balance our meals to avoid the spikes and the drops? Probably, but more so because of how it might make you feel. If I were to wear a blood glucose monitor and I noticed that watermelon spiked my blood sugar and then insulin came and brought it back down and eventually leveled out, but I felt fine every time I ate watermelon, I wouldn't avoid watermelon. I wouldn't try to balance watermelon with fats and proteins, because I know that the science says that as long as my blood sugar comes back to a stable zone, there's no inherent danger there at all. It's totally normal response. And I actually feel fine, which I do. Every time I eat watermelon, I feel very full, very satisfied. It's a great way to satisfy your sweets craving. It's a great way to get in a high volume of food for very low calorie. I'm obsessed with watermelon. And so I wouldn't worry about it, right? So these are the things that you kind of have to think about, okay? Another couple of things is that being overweight or being obese in general can inherently cause insulin resistance or insulin like desensitivity. And this is usually because fat tissue, the adipose tissue, releases certain compounds and hormones that actually have a direct impact on insulin release. But on the flip side of that, do you know what can actually turn that around? Like one lifestyle thing that you can do that could completely turn around your body's insulin resistance is strength training and building muscle. Because muscle is literally like a sponge for glucose. So when insulin is released to remove blood sugar from your bloodstream, it wants to shuttle it into muscle. Muscle is one of the first places it goes to. And if your muscle is active and building and desiring it, it will soak that glucose up. And it can be excellent for helping to regulate insulin and blood sugar response. So keep that in mind. So here's my issue with continuous glucose monitors as well. So this kind of drifts into this. I have two issues with continuous glucose monitors. You've been seeing this on Instagram and stuff. Like you see like people looking at you, Instagram. You see people wearing these things as like part of their daily. You even see ads with people like eating oatmeal and being like, oh my gosh, look, my blood sugar spiked because I eat oatmeal. It means oatmeal's bad. It's such utter BS. Okay. It's like wearing a continuous blood pressure glove or cuff or whatever around your arm and then doing cardio and being like, look guys, my blood pressure's rising when I do cardio. Cardio's bad. Like, are you kidding me? Like, way to prey on people's like lack of understanding. And it's absolute BS. Okay. So that's the first problem I have, that it is BS. And it's not an actual data point that most people need to pay attention to, especially when we are in I feel not a phase. I should call it like, we're in a time where we went from like lack of information and lack of knowledge because we didn't have internet. So it was actually hard to get good information and good knowledge. Now we're at the point where it's over. It's too much. We have too much information out there. We have too much knowledge. In fact, we have knowledge on so many different things that we don't know what applies to us and what doesn't. And putting even more data and things that you need to pay attention to that don't actually have an impact on your health or your weight or your well-being is pointless, right? So there's that. No need to add that extra layer of stress to your mind. But also when we kind of glorify this kind of thing that actually people need, like people with type 1 and type 2 diabetes, or people whose doctors have said they need to start monitoring their blood sugar, guess what happens when everybody on Instagram is like buying these continuous blood glucose monitors? It means that it becomes harder for those people to get them, either because there's lack of the product because there's not enough, or because the price has skyrocketed because demand has gone up, right? It's kind of similar with these weight loss shots like Wegovy and Ozempic. There are actually people that need those, and those people can't get it because it's become such a hot topic right now with anybody wanting to drop a few pounds, right? So that's the other huge problem I have with it. Now, the hope is that demand will catch up. Demand will say, because it normally goes in these waves. First, there's like no product and high prices, but then more starts to be created. And then we kind of come back to a level playing field. So hopefully that will happen. But it's still a massive issue right now with people that aren't able to get the monitors that they need, or they don't have the same access. So to wrap this up, if you have any questions, please let me know. Generally, good practice is to mix fats, carbs, and proteins at most of your meals, right? And I mean, that's what we normally do anyway. It is very rare that people straight up eat Skittles for breakfast, even though that's what Jordan did in his video. One of the days he literally had Skittles for breakfast. And you know what's interesting about that? He didn't eat again till like 2 or 3 just because of the way his day went. He had a pack of sour Skittles at like 8 a.m. And then he didn't eat any actual food until like 2 or 3. And he actually felt fine. He was like, yeah, my blood glucose spiked because I had Skittles. But he didn't feel that bad coming down from it. He never felt super hungry, shaky, jittery, sluggish, any of that stuff. But when he ate the 1/4 cup of sugar, he did. So even despite what the numbers tell you, it's really important to go by how you feel when you eat a certain food. And not that you're going to have numbers to tell you anyway, because you're not going to buy a continuous blood glucose monitor. But it's really the most important metric to pay attention to is how you feel, right? How you feel after eating certain foods. The things that you learn from just experimenting on your own body. Okay, so is it good practice to always mix macronutrients in a meal? Of course. Okay, pay attention to how foods make you feel and not these numbers. Don't look at the GI index and try to avoid foods that are high on the GI index. Okay, it's a waste of time unless you have a pre-diagnosed condition that requires you to pay attention to that. Okay, awesome. So that was 2 truths and a lie today. Tune in next week. Also, I'm thinking about bringing Free Coffee Fridays back. So if you are watching and you participated in Free Coffee Friday, I'm going to be really honest. The reason Free Coffee Friday doesn't happen anymore, one is because I moved, and during the transition of me moving overseas, I dropped a lot of stuff that I just couldn't maintain. Free Coffee Fridays was something that I just couldn't maintain. And then when I wanted to start bringing it back, once I got here on the other side of the world, I realized that my Starbucks account doesn't work anymore. And I'm telling you, I spent hours trying to figure out why, because we have a VPN, we can watch Hulu and Netflix. Like, we've had zero issues with anything else. So I couldn't understand why Starbucks of all things would be an issue. I ended up contacting support, and they were like, there's nothing we can do for you. We literally have banned and blocked anyway of people overseas being able to use. Like, are you serious? I'm like literally trying to give you money. Anyway, I figured a workaround. And I was thinking this morning about bringing Free Coffee Fridays back. So if you are a fan of Free Coffee Friday, give me a coffee emoji below or like a hands up. Essentially what it is a mini challenge every single week. We vote every Friday on what's going to be the challenge for the following week. You post pictures and accountability, etc. We draw somebody on Friday for a $5 Starbucks gift card. So I buy you a coffee every Friday. And it's a lot of fun. And so if you want Free Coffee Fridays back, let me know below, because that would be really helpful to see who's in and who's kind of like, meh. But it's a lot of fun. Any hoodle. All right, guys, it was fun chatting with you guys today. I will chat with you soon. Happy watermelon eating. Peace out.